recovery at 26 rupees per litre. Diesel under recovery at nearly 82 rupees per litre. Opposition slams centre over fuel price hike, asks why price rise only after polls are over. BJP hits out at opposition, says world saw hike at 20 to 100%. India contained massive hike. It's the government's first response on NEET exam leak. Minister Pradhan says will fix existing loopholes in NTA exam to be fully computer-based from next year. NEET re-examination to be held on the 21st of next month. Prime Minister Modi embarks on a 5-nation tour. UAE will be his first stop. PM's global outreach at UAE will be the top focus. He should get to Abu Dhabi in a couple of minutes from now. Iran and Taiwan dominate the agenda as Donald Trump and Xi Jinping hold a final round of high-stakes talks in Beijing, with the US president wrapping up his state visit a day after Beijing's sharp warning on Taiwan.
Presented by Canara Bank. Together we can.
Days after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call to reduce petrol and diesel consumption and use public transport, the centre has hiked petrol and diesel prices by 3 rupees per litre, a development that was long anticipated. The petrol will now cost rupees 97.77 per litre in the national capital, 108.74 per litre in Kolkata, 106.68 per litre in Mumbai and 103.67 per litre in Chennai. Diesel will now be sold at 90.67 per litre in Delhi and 95.13 per litre in Kolkata, 93.14 per litre in Mumbai and 95.25 per litre in Chennai. As for sources, India is facing a severe global oil shock but is still shielding citizens instead of passing on the full burden to the consumer. Sources claim oil marketing companies and government are together absorbing nearly 1,000 crore rupees in losses every day, while petrol under recovery stands at 26 rupees per litre and diesel under recovery is close to about 82 rupees per litre. Shrimi brings us this report.
See, the government's message amid the global oil crisis is becoming increasingly clear. It does not want consumers to bear the full burden of rising crude prices through steep fuel price hike, and that is quite reflected in today's move. And according to top government sources, oil marketing companies along with the centre are currently absorbing losses of nearly 1,000 crore every day to keep petrol and diesel prices stable despite the surge in global crude prices. Now, under recoveries are estimated around 26 per litre on petrol and nearly 82 per litre on diesel. Officials argue that the alternative would be far more painful. Since fuel demand in India remains largely price inelastic, consumer would need petrol and diesel even if price rises sharply. Internal estimates suggest that the fully passing on the global shock could require fuel price hike of as much as 200 to 300%, and that's huge. Now, sources says that government believe that any knee-jerk move would hurt the bottom of the pyramid the most. Instead, the focus is on reducing fuel consumption volume rather than sharply increasing the prices. Officials describe the current situation as a massive twin drain, with crude import costing 12 to 15 lakh crore annually, while gold import have surged to 6 lakh crore. Sources also says that the government is framing the current situation as an external geopolitical shock linked to the Iran conflict rather than any sort of domestic economic failure. Now, this also explains clearly the PM repeated calls for restraint in fuel consumption, foreign travel, gold purchases, etc., with sources described as highly targeted and pragmatic steps to sort of reduce the dollar outflows with minimal economic disruptions.
Let's now bring you some ground reports from fuel stations across the country where our reporters have been speaking to people who are there to get their tanks fueled up.
Delhi residents have woken up to the price rise of fuel today. We are showing you the visuals from Pragati Maidan petrol station, which is considered to be one of the busiest petrol stations in Delhi. We are showing you the visuals of the current petrol prices in the capital that have gone on rupees 3.14 per litre and at rupees 97.7 per litre. Diesel has become costlier by rupees 3.11 per litre, taking the price to rupees 90.67 per litre. Now, after remaining unchanged for nearly 4 years, this price rise can be seen today that has sparked concern among daily commuters, cab drivers and daily workers who are saying rising fuel cost will directly affect their monthly expenses.
नहीं, अभी तो मैं जब आया तो अभी मैंने देखा कि शायद कुछ हो रहा है, फिर देखा कि अच्छा ये प्राइस बढ़ गया है, तो रात तक तो पता नहीं था, अभी पता लग रहा है कि अच्छा ये
प्रभाव पड़ेगा इस पे। हमें आने जाने के लिए भी बहुत दिक्कत हो जाएगा जो ड्यूटी कर रहे हैं।
Fuel price in Chennai is up by 3 rupees, just like any other part of the country. And in Chennai, the petrol price is now 103.67 a litre. In the case of the diesel, it's 95.25, 3 rupees hike. And many were expecting this. They were hoping that the government would increase the price after the election results, since the West Asia war crisis has triggered a disruption in terms of movement of oil. 3 rupees per litre hike. How do you look at this?
Sir, we don't have a choice, but we need to be careful and sail with it, that's it.
Would you reduce using your car now, or would you?
Of course, we do a lot in front of our office also, we're discussing, we do carpool. In fact, we stay in the same complex, we are getting that. So that's what we need to do. As citizens, we need to abide by this and go ahead, that's it.
Lastly, was this waiting to happen because of the West Asia war and the elections?
As everybody knows, that's the main reason.
Amid West Asian crisis, there has been hike in oil and diesel price. That's definitely going to make an impact on day-to-day life of a common man. Situation right from Jammu to Jaipur, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Secunderabad to Siliguri, going to remain same because everybody here feels that this is going to put a hole in their pocket. Let me talk to the people here at Jammu Petrol Pump and try to find out what they really feel. कितनी मुश्किल होने वाली है? How really it's going to make things difficult?
मुश्किल तो है क्योंकि हम डेली सफ़र करते हैं, तो हमारा प्राइवेट जॉब है, जैसे हमने यहाँ से वहाँ ट्रैवल करना होता है, टूरिंग पे रहते हैं, तो प्राइस हाइक के कारण कहीं ना कहीं एक्सपेंसेस बढ़ रहे हैं।
कैसे देखते हैं आप ये जो प्राइस हाइक जो हुआ है ऑयल और डीजल का, कितना मुश्किल होने जा रहा है इसकी वजह से एक आम आदमी की जिंदगी?
आम आदमी की जिंदगी में तो परेशानी ही है।
परेशानी लगता है कि बजट इफेक्ट करेगा इससे?
बजट इफेक्ट करेगा
तो लगता है महंगाई भी हो सकती है
क्यों नहीं।
तो क्या चाहते, क्या सरकार क्या करे इस सिचुएशन में?
वही रेट कम करे, बल्कि रेट कम हो जाए तो अच्छा है।
Hike in prices of petrol and diesel has already affected the life of a common man, and we are reporting from one of the petrol pump at this point of time. We are going to talk to some of the people to just take their reaction. तो पेट्रोल और डीजल के प्राइसेस जैसे बढ़े हैं, तो क्या लगता है कि और भी चैलेंजेस आने वाले हैं?
सर लग तो ऐसे ही रहा, भी और बढ़ेंगे और इससे तो फिर सारी चीज़ महंगी हो ही जाएगी जब, और जो हालात है उससे लग रहा है भी हाँ बढ़ेंगे।
वॉर चल रही है, जैसे भी क्रूड ऑयल के प्राइस महंगे हो रहे हैं तो बढ़ने तो लाजमी है, और उसके बढ़ेंगे तो जो अपना डेली यूज की चीज़ें हैं जो ट्रांसपोर्ट होती हैं उनके भी बढ़ेंगे।
अभी तो 3 बढ़े हैं शायद, आई थिंक ना आज, तो मेरे को लगता है कि शायद 15-20 तो बढ़ेंगे, शायद धीरे धीरे 25 तक जाएगा लग रहा है, मे बी, I'm not sure.
Fuel prices in Telangana has also affecting common citizen and common commuter daily who is heading to their offices and their duties. In Hyderabad, if we talk about today's fuel price, is 110 rupees 88 paisa per litre, and you can see behind me how people are in large number. They are coming to the petrol bunks and they are getting their vehicles filled with petrol. Largely, the petrol prices are higher in Hyderabad, in Telangana, as well as in Andhra Pradesh, Vijayawada, because of excess VAT collection by the state government.
तो भी चल रहा है हमारे गुजारिश से, हम लोग चल रहे हैं बस उतना ही। अब प्राइस बढ़ा दिए तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते, अब जो भी यूज़ करना ही है, बिना यूज़ के तो कुछ नहीं होगा।
Definitely it will impact. Resources are limited, so what we get is limited. When inflation goes up, rates go up, it definitely affects our total lifestyle, budget.
Prices across India have gone up sharply, with petrol and diesel prices rising up to rupees 3 per litre, adding additional burden on transport sectors as well as commuters. At present, we are here at a petrol pump, and like you see behind me, people are coming and filling up petrol. Sir, आपसे जानेंगे पेट्रोल और डीजल के prices बढ़ गए हैं।
इसके बारे में क्या बताएंगे कि ये लोगों को गवर्नमेंट चलानी नहीं आती, खाली रेट बढ़ाने का बस उतना ही काम है। हर चीज़ का वो लोगों ने रेट बढ़ाया है।
अभी क्या बोलने का, मोदी कर रहा है, बर्बाद कर रहा है, चलो जान तो बर्बाद कर रही है। आज
अभी आगे चल के क्या होने वाला है पता नहीं चल रहा है अभी ये पोजीशन के हिसाब से। पेट्रोल अभी भरा के रख रहा हूँ।
बढ़ने तो अभी क्या, पेट्रोल तो भरना पड़ेगा, हम लोग को तो लगता ही है डेली का, ऐसा कुछ ऐसा ही इसमें नहीं। और बढ़ेगा दाम तो हम लोग को तो करना ही है।
सरकार बोलती है कि डीजल कम यूज करे, पर जहाँ लगना है वहाँ तो लगना है ना। हमारे पास में डीजल गाड़ियाँ है तो हम क्या करेंगे, इसको बेच के क्या इलेक्ट्रिक गाड़ियाँ थोड़ी लेंगे। और टैक्सी में कहाँ इलेक्ट्रिक गाड़ियाँ चलेगी।
साइकिल चलानी पड़ेगी भाई, अभी पैदल चलना पड़ेगा, क्या करेंगे, इतनी महंगाई में हालत खराब है। आदमी को एक बार खाने को नहीं हो रहा है, गाड़ी कहाँ से चलाएगा।
पेट्रोल डीजल अपना दैनंदिन जीवन का आधार है, उसके बिना तो कोई काम होता ही नहीं है। तो सरकार से विनती है कि जल्द से जल्द ये रेट नीचे किया जाए, थोड़ा बिलो किया जाए कि आम आदमी को राहत मिल सके। इसके कारण बाकी सभी चीजें महंगी होंगी।
मैं चाहूंगा कि इससे और आगे ना हो, इतना पब्लिक के लिए सही है, इतना सह सकती है, इसके आगे और नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि बहुत सी चीजें महंगी हुई तो ये भी 2-4 रुपये महंगा तो समझ में आ रहा चलता है।
There's nothing we can do or say about it. Live with it.
So you say there's no option, but you just live with it.
Yes, just live with it.
All right.
No point saying anything.
But do you wish and hope that it does not hike more in the future?
I think the government should realize that they can't keep hiking everything up, because with the hike in petrol prices, everything else is also going to go up. So the middle class people are going to suffer.
Now, fuel prices have been hiked and the ripple effects are expected across the economy. But first, let's just take you through some of the countries that have seen a fuel hike before India itself. Let's start with Pakistan, which saw a 61% hike. The US saw a 46% hike, Canada 34%, South Africa 33%, China 25%, UK 19%, Japan at 10%, Indonesia at 7%, Brazil at 6%, India the lowest compared to all these countries who had hiked their fuel prices earlier due to the Mideast conflict, and India stands at 3.3%. All right, now let's just take you through the diesel prices as well when it comes to the different countries. Indonesia at 91%, South Africa 64%, Pakistan 50% hike is what it saw. You have US at 48%, UK at 33%, Canada at 32%, China at 28%. Again, just go down that bar graph and you see India's has been the lowest, and that's exactly what government sources have also been telling NDTV, that when it comes to the fuel price hike, we waited. Now it's gone ahead, we've hiked it, but it's a minimal impact compared to the other countries in terms of fuel and diesel. I'm going to get Aishwarya live on our big story as well. Aishwarya, let's just talk about the government stand when it comes to the price hike. This is something that was expected, especially after you had Prime Minister Narendra Modi come out and talk about austerity measures. It was just the question of when, and not that this would not happen, just the question of when really. But what has the government's defense been to the opposition's offensive on the price hike?
Well, on one side, amid the geopolitical shock on the oil prices, it is, of course, the zero control of India on the prices of international crude oil. But perhaps in India, the situation is very different. If we compare the country to the world, then certainly India has been impacted minimal. And that's because of the efforts that have been made by the government so far. Indian government is trying to shield its citizen for at least 76 days, and therefore no price hike had been seen in the last 76 days. In fact, the government and the OMCs had been facing losses of at least 1,000 crores per day. It's also the excise rates which have been cut on the petrol and diesel, perhaps petrol for 8 and diesel for 6 rupees per litre. It is also the government of India which has stated that the petrol under recovery rate stands for 26 rupees per litre and diesel for 82 rupees per litre. And certainly it is government of India which is trying not to pass on the burden to the common.
Aishwarya, I will have to interrupt you there. Union Minister Kiran Rijiju speaking. Let's cut across.
हर मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट को अगर विदेश दौरा में जाना है तो
लोकसभा या राज्यसभा का जो सेक्रेटरीट है वहाँ 3 सप्ताह पहले सूचना देना होता है और विदेश मंत्रालय और गृह मंत्रालय को भी सूचना देना होता है। गृह मंत्रालय को विशेष करके जो फॉरेन कंट्रीब्यूशन रेगुलेशन एक्ट के तहत अगर कोई विदेशी हॉस्पिटैलिटी
Kiran Rijiju there. Now let's also talk about the price pinch. We can take you through some of that on this graphics that we have for you. What is it going to even impact in terms of transport costs that are going to rise, of course, given that you have a fuel price hike happening, you have food prices that may go up. Of course, I mean, you need transport to get that food to the retail shops as well. So the supply chain being impacted because of this fuel price hike as well. Vegetables, milk to get costlier for the same reason that I have just mentioned. Then you have bus, taxi and auto fares also that could increase given this fuel price hike, which you will have these people passing on to the consumers as well. Now, online delivery charges may rise as well since they are bearing the impact of diesel and fuel costs. But remember, most of them also have electric vehicles that they travel on. Airfares could turn costlier. This is something we have been talking about for the last 3 weeks here on NDTV as well. Logistics and freight costs to jump as well for the given reasons. So there is going to be this cascading effect that you're going to see when it comes to logistics and freight costs, and they're projected to jump, adding to inflationary pressures. Manufacturing units will face higher input costs, pushing up prices of essential goods. Even the agriculture sector is expected to feel the heat as rising fuel costs impact farming as well as distribution. Aishwarya joining me once again. Aishwarya, that is the concern. This is not only limited to a fuel price hike, but can impact the Aam Aadmi in several ways in the weeks to come.
But could impact farmers of the country and also the common man. The inflation can go up as well, but the government has tried to make all efforts possible not to push this burden. And we speak about the farmers, and certainly rupees 22,500 crore subsidy has been given. Chemical fertilizer bag of rupees 2,500 is just being sold, a mere of 282 to the farmers, and that's the kind of subsidy that the government is giving. And certainly, and the Prime Minister has appealed to the public to consume less as far as the oil and petrol is concerned. It's the twin, drilling as far as drain movement as far as the oil and gold is concerned. We have no control over the international crude prices. To be controlled. In fact, the Strait of Hormuz that have stopped most of the ships and vessels which contains oils to the country, that have been stopped, and therefore the reason perhaps India is at the lowest, just 3.2% of the petrol and diesel hike as compared to the world, which has seen more than 50-60% of the hike. And it is, of course, on one side the government clearly controlling and taking the burden on themselves and try to stabilizing the entire situation. The outside world clearly has been seen a dramatic situation as far as the prices are concerned. So yes, the top government sources have indicated to us that this will be a regular phenomenon because the government is trying to make all efforts possible. The Congress and the other political parties clearly slamming the government over here, stating that this is the first installment of the recovery that they are trying to make, but in the future more such installments will be coming. Yes. More such push in the price hike will come, and definitely slamming the government over it. But it is the government sources clearly revealing that there would be no much impact. The government will try to contain and will try to stabilize the prices of oil and diesel as much as possible.
All right, Aishwarya, thanks for joining us live since this morning on this story that impacts everybody in the country. The defense by the government is that we held off for as long as we could. And if you look at the comparisons when it comes to the fuel price hike with other countries, ours is still the lowest. The opposition hitting back, questioning the timing of this fuel price rise. Now the price pinch. let's come to the price pinch now. Let's start with milk. Amul Mother Dairy hike prices by about 2 rupees per litre. Input and procurement costs have been cited as the reason for the hike that you're seeing, and this is something that is consumed in huge volumes across the country. Now, petrol is up by 3 litres, diesel is up by 3 litres. This is the first major revision since the year 2022. CNG in Delhi NCR, the price goes up by 2 rupees per kg. In Mumbai, it's 2 rupees per kg in terms of the hike as well. Global gas supply concerns have been cited. Commercial LPG 19 kilo cylinder has been hiked by 993 rupees, which is almost 1,000 rupees. The Delhi commercial LPG now is above 3,000 rupees. That, of course, impacts hotels and restaurants. But the domestic LPG is something that the government has been trying to insulate from price rises. Let's listen into what the Petroleum Minister had said yesterday when he highlighted the losses to the oil companies. He also rolls out some statistics.
If you look at the fiscal situation, if you look at the fact that my oil companies are losing what, 1,000 crores every day, that the under recovery is going to be what, 198,000 crores, 2 lakh crores nearly. The losses are what, 1 lakh crore if you look at the quarter. In that context, how long can you keep it like this? Where is the oil? It used to be at around $64 or $65. I have my statistics here, gone up to 115 in that basket.
Kotak Mahindra Bank founder a few days ago also warned that the big shock is coming and we as a nation should be prepared.
We should prepare for paranoia before the event, and we must hope that tough times do not come or remain, but we must prepare for the worst. The consumers have not felt the pressure at all. And think about a consumer with limited income having to spend more directly on fuel and indirectly on other items for fuel, or dependent on fuel. The shock is coming. We had old inventory. We had the ability for oil companies to be the shock absorber. And it's a large amount of money. Therefore, I don't think you're very far away from the shock.
Ever since the announcement, a fresh political showdown has erupted over the fuel price hike, with the opposition launching a sharp attack on the centre. Rahul Gandhi has slammed the government for fuel price hikes and said that people are paying the price for the government's mistake. Not just the Congress, but all opposition leaders are questioning the timing of the hike, alleging that the government deliberately waited for the election results before increasing petrol and diesel prices. You have the BJP defending that claim, stating that if the government had to increase the fuel prices, they would have done it a day or two after the election results, but this is coming more than 10 days after the result was announced. BJP has hit back at the opposition, calling them opportunists. BJP said that the rise is due to the global oil crisis and hike, and India is very minimal in comparison to the other countries. We just brought you that graphics to show the difference in the fuel price hike percentages.
We are discussing the impact of the increase in the petroleum products. Price of the petroleum products are discussing, and we are assessing the impact on the public. Then we will check. Then we will take a decision on that.
Mr. Modi has failed in the international relationship. He could not manage well. He could not help. That is why, like COVID, what he said, ring the bell, lift the lamp and all is just giving. It is not possible. How to consume oil in my house? How can I stop it? How can I stop vehicle? You ask all the central minister. Today he may reduce his security with 2 vehicles. Okay, fine. Let all others do in the entire country. No one should travel outside. How can it be there?
Mr. Modi is saying that everything is fine. Is this the Achhe Din that they promised? And why is the government not telling people the problem? The Prime Minister should come out in the open, speak to public, speak in Parliament on the real situation of the crisis that we are going to face.
डीजल 90 पार, पेट्रोल 100 पार, ये जनता को लूटा गया वजह है कि उस समय अंधभक्त पैदा नहीं हुए थे। याद है कि दिल्ली में 1998 में केवल प्याज के दाम बढ़ गए थे, सुषमा स्वराज की सरकार की सफाया हो गया था। अब अंधभक्त पैदा हो गए हैं। कल दूध के दाम बढ़े, आज डीजल पेट्रोल के दाम बढ़े, इसके पहले एलपीजी गैस, कमर्शियल एलपीजी सिलेंडर का बढ़ गया था।
सिर्फ 2-3 रुपए पेट्रोल और डीजल के दामों में बढ़ोतरी नहीं हुई, बल्कि पेट्रोल और डीजल के दामों में बढ़ोतरी के कारण खाद्य पदार्थों में भी बढ़ोतरी होगी, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में भी बढ़ोतरी होगी। मतलब अब महंगाई पूर्ण रूपेण चरम पे आ जाएगी। जनता को विदेश दौरा से रोक करके खुद प्रधानमंत्री विदेश दौरे पर निकल पड़े।
सीधा सवाल है मोदी सरकार से। पिछले 10 सालों में, 12 सालों में जब कच्चे तेल की कीमत कम थी और कोई युद्ध नहीं चल रहा था, तो 16 बार एक्साइज टैक्स बढ़ाया गया। 65 रुपए से 100 रुपए के ऊपर पेट्रोल डीजल के प्राइस चले गए। उस समय जब आपने फायदा नहीं दिया, तो अब जब कीमतें बढ़ रही हैं तो आप लोगों के ऊपर इतना भार क्यों डाल रहे हो? क्यों उनके पेट पर लात मार रहे हो? और आम लोगों से पूछना चाहता हूं, बंगाल के लोगों से पूछना चाहता हूं, बीजेपी को जिताया, उसके बाद मिला क्या? 3 रुपए डीजल और पेट्रोल के दाम बढ़ा दिए गए। उस समय तो बड़े जोर जोर से अमित शाह और नरेंद्र मोदी बोलते थे कि बड़े हमारे पास स्टॉक पड़ा हुआ है, कोई कमी नहीं है, कोई दाम बढ़ेंगे नहीं। इससे पता लगता है कि इनकी दोहरी राजनीति है।
तो हम लोग जानते हैं वर्ल्ड सिचुएशन है, लेकिन कोई प्लानिंग नहीं था। दूसरा, 2014 से क्या वॉर सिचुएशन चल रहा है? 2014 कंपेयर कीजिए प्राइस को। 2014 ये भाजपा गवर्नमेंट आने से पहले क्या था, आज क्या है?
देखिए, जाहिर सी बात है, जब से भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार केंद्र में उत्तर प्रदेश में आई है, लगातार महंगाई बढ़ रही, लगातार लोगों के ऊपर बोझ बढ़ रहा है। और इस दिशा में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार कोई कदम भी नहीं उठा रही। आज की तारीख में लगातार जो है लोगों के ऊपर महंगाई का बोझ पड़ता जा रहा है। लोगों को चलना, निकलना, खाना पीना, हर चीज़ जो दुश्वार हो गया है। और मैं समझता हूँ कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी जब तक रहेगी, महंगाई इसी तरीके से चरम सीमा पर बढ़ती रहेगी।
After the announcement made by the Prime Minister in Telangana, it was very clear that all prices, oil prices, LPG, going to be hiked. And we were expecting the same. And now no more elections in this year. All the 5 states elections are over. Now, hereafter, no elections. So, till next elections, announcement of the next elections, we can expect these kind of announcements. Merciless governments without any idea to control, handle the economy.
If the government had to wait for the election results, it's been more than 10 days since the elections have passed. Please note that nobody expected this crisis to last for more than 2 months. It is because of the macroeconomic stability and the measures that the government took that the Indian common man suffered the least. In fact, experienced zero price hike in the price of petrol and diesel. And even right now, where there is a 55% increase in Pakistan, 45% in the United States of America, 52% in UAE, well, everywhere, any situation has an inflection point. And as you and I, everybody is aware that nobody knows when this crisis will end. So in such a scenario, it is but natural that the government will take contingency measures.
All right, so the latest there is that there has been a fuel price hike, and it's been up by 3 rupees when it comes to petrol and diesel. Of course, the prices vary in the different metropolitans, but you have the Aam Aadmi stating that some of them were expecting it, some of them expressing frustration over this, and some even asking the government to ensure that there is no further fuel price hike. Now, this comes at a time when the government itself has been stating through its top sources, even through its Minister Kiran Rijiju, that they held off for as long as they could. But when you look at the fuel price hike that has happened, it is really marginal compared to what other countries have faced, be it Indonesia, be it Pakistan, be it the United States of America. The opposition, on the other hand, a quick recap there as well, stating that why is this happening after the election results were announced? Now, of course, the reason for this price hike goes back to the Iran conflict, and that remains the biggest reason for what we're seeing. There's going to be a cascading effect. Once you have this fuel price hike that has happened, what will happen next is food supplies and agricultural supplies also being hit, the impact is going to be that of a cascading effect. We have some breaking news coming in. The Indian Medical Association has written to the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan on the leak. IMA has condemned the NEET undergraduate 2026 paper leak and demanded for immediate action against NTA and the culprits involved in the leak of the exam paper. This exam, remember, was conducted by the NTA, and NEET has faced repeated controversies. Papers have been cancelled on 2 occasions, is what the IMA has said, due to incidents of paper leaks and examination irregularities. Such incidents, they say, have caused immense mental trauma, stress, hardship on students. This leak has created uncertainty for more than 22.5 lakh students and their families. The IMA is now requesting the government to decentralize the conduct of the NEET undergraduate examination. The IMA is also requesting the government to assign greater responsibility to the states and to the union territories under a transparent and accountable framework. So that's the IMA that is condemning the paper leak. They want a complete rehaul of the system. They also want accountability from the top, alluding to the NTA in this case, the authority that conducts the NEET exam. Remember, there was a leak of the paper. The exam was conducted on the 3rd of May, and now the NTA has announced that the examination will be held on the 21st of June. The first word also coming in from the government, Dharmendra Pradhan holding a press conference at about 11 this morning, where he did say that the government will crack down on the mafia behind NEET, and NEET will be a computer-based exam from next year. This comes at a time when heavy criticism is being faced by the government as well as NTA over the leak of the exam. This is not the first time that it has happened. Now you have the IMA saying that students face mental trauma every time there is a paper leak. Tanushka is joining me live on the story. Tanushka, very quickly, what are the demands that the IMA is making from the government? What are the expectations?
Right. So the Indian Medical Association has demanded for an immediate action against the National Testing Agency and the culprits involved. They've said that the new NEET UG examination conducted by the NTA has faced such controversies, and papers have been cancelled on 2 occasions due to incidents of paper leaks and exam irregularities. In such a case, they've said that the government should decentralize the conduct of the NEET UG examination. They've requested the government to assign greater responsibility to the states and union territories under a transparent and accountable framework. And the IMA has also requested the NEET UG examination to be conducted in an online mode, which we should also, note the Union Education Minister has already announced. He just held a press conference in which he said that from next year onwards, the NEET examinations will be in computer-based test mode. And the IMA has also said that a credible and time-bound CBI investigation should happen, arresting all the culprits involved in establishing this sort of a nexus. Back to you.
All right, thanks for that recap there, Tanushka. The IMA hitting out, wanting accountability, and they want a rehauling of the entire system. Now, following days of outrage after the cancellation of the NEET exam, the retest of the exam has been rescheduled, like I mentioned, for the 21st of next month. Addressing the media, and this is the first statement that emerged from the centre on the NEET leak, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan admitted that there was a need for improvement and assured that the government's utmost priority was to secure the future of students. The Union Minister further said that the CBI was working to nab the accused in the leak gate. In a major shift, the Education Minister announced that the NEET examination will be conducted as a full computer-based test from next year. That's the biggest takeaway from that press conference that he held. One, that there will be a crackdown on the mafia who went ahead and leaked the paper. And secondly, that it's going to be a computer-based exam from next year.
लगभग आज से 1 महीने से थोड़ा 1-2 दिन के बाद नई परीक्षा होगी। हमारी अप्रोच वही रहेगा, हम जीरो टॉलरेंस टू माल प्रैक्टिसेस। ये एक लंबी लड़ाई है परीक्षा माफियाओं के साथ। जो एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट अभी मित्रों टेक्नोलॉजी के समय में एक नई चुनौती बढ़ रहा है। इस बार सीबीआई तह तक जाएगी, कहाँ वो कमांड चेन पे ब्रीच हुई है, राधाकृष्ण कमेटी को पूरा पालन करने के उपरांत भी कहाँ वो ब्रीच हुई है, उस ब्रीच को मेरा पूरा विश्वास है सीबीआई के ऊपर, और जो संबंधित एजेंसी उनके साथ काम करे, सरकार की पूरी माइटी, सरकार की पूरा नेतृत्व, सभी विभाग उसमें से गंभीरता चीज को लेते हुए, शीर्ष तो नेतृत्व उसके लेके खूब दायित्व लिया है, चिंता कर रहा है। राधाकृष्ण कमेटी को पूरा लागू करने के बावजूद भी ये घटना हुई है। सीबीआई, आपने देखा होगा, आप लोग ही छपाते हो, सीबीआई ने तुरंत कार्रवाई किया है, सीबीआई इसको तह तक जाएगी। मैं और एक विषय जो मेन विषय में कहना था, अगले साल से परीक्षा, इसकी जो मूल जड़ है OMR, अगले साल से नीट की परीक्षा कंप्यूटर बेस्ड टेस्ट से होगी। हमारी सर्वोपरि प्राथमिकता है छात्रों की भविष्य, उनकी परिश्रम के प्रति संवेदनशीलता सरकार की सदैव है। 3 मई को एग्जामिनेशन हुई, 7 मई तक एनटीए की ग्रीवेंस रिड्यूसल सिस्टम पे कहीं से आपत्ति आई, गेस्ट पेपर में ऐसे कुछ प्रश्न आए हैं जो इस बार की क्वेश्चन सेट्स में था। तुरंत ही हम लोगों की वहाँ चर्चा हुई, एनटीए ने और सरकार ने, एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, हायर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट ने तुरंत उसको प्रारंभिक थोड़ा इंक्वायरी किया, एजेंसियों को दे दिया।
On that note, we're slipping a short break. Once we're back, we'll talk more about the Prime Minister's visit to the UAE, where he will be meeting with the President of the UAE in Abu Dhabi.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा आरती और मसाला।
Where the software engineer meets the talented photographer to create the big dream. The world comes together at Sharda University.
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
एनटीए ने नीट यूजी का नई परीक्षा की तिथि घोषणा किया है। 21 जून को री एग्जामिनेशन की डेट घोषणा की है। मित्रों, मैं 2-3 विषय आपके सामने, आपके माध्यम से देशवासियों के सामने, स्पेसिफिक स्टूडेंट्स और उनके अभिभावकों के सामने रखना चाहता हूं। हमारी सर्वोपरि प्राथमिकता है छात्रों की भविष्य, उनकी परिश्रम के प्रति संवेदनशीलता सरकार की सदैव है। 3 मई को एग्जामिनेशन हुई, 7 मई तक एनटीए की ग्रीवेंस रिड्यूसल सिस्टम पे कहीं से आपत्ति आई, गेस्ट पेपर में ऐसे कुछ प्रश्न आए हैं जो इस बार की क्वेश्चन सेट्स में था। तुरंत ही हम लोगों की वहाँ चर्चा हुई। NTA ने और सरकार ने, एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, हायर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट ने तुरंत उसको प्रारंभिक थोड़ा इंक्वायरी किया, एजेंसियों को दे दिया, भारत सरकार की एजेंसियों को दे दिया। भारत सरकार एजेंसी संबंधित 2-3 राज्यों के साथ जुड़ा हुआ विषय था। प्रथम दृष्टया में राज्यों की एजेंसियों से संपर्क किया और 12 तारीख तक, यानी 8 को सुबह प्रक्रिया एक प्रकार से 7 रात को शुरू हुई, 8 को ही शुरू हुई। 8, 9, 10, 11 3-4 दिन में जब हमको स्पष्टता हुई, हम कंफर्म हुए हैं कि इस बार गैस पेपर की आड़ पे क्वेश्चंस बाहर गया है। हम 12 तारीख को छात्रों के हितों में हम नहीं चाहते थे कोई गलत कैंडिडेट एजुकेशन माफियाओं के षड्यंत्र से कोई भी सही छात्र की अधिकार वंचित हो जाए। इसीलिए हम बड़ी जिम्मेवारी के साथ हमने कहा था हम जीरो टॉलरेंस की अप्रोच में चलते हैं। हमने पिछले बार जो विसंगति आई उसमें जो हमने राधाकृष्णन कमेटी गठन हुई थी, पिछले 25 और 26 दोनों साल हमने राधाकृष्णन कमेटी को शब्दशः इम्प्लीमेंट किया। उसके बावजूद भी ये दुर्घटना हुई। इसलिए हमने पहला हमारे निर्णय हुआ कि हम परीक्षा को इस बार रद्द करते हैं। हमने 12 तारीख को परीक्षा को रद्द किया। स्वाभाविक देश में और विशेष करके स्टूडेंट्स में उसको लेके 2 प्रकार के मत आए। हम दोनों प्रकार के मतों को स्वीकार करते हैं। हम अपना दायित्व उसको मानते हैं, उसको कैसे समाधान की रास्ता निकाले। और आज हमने 15 हमने आज नई तिथि के साथ आ रहे हैं। लगभग आज से 1 महीने से थोड़ा 1-2 दिन के बाद नई परीक्षा होगी। हमारी अप्रोच वही रहेगा, हम जीरो टॉलरेंस टू माल प्रैक्टिसेस। ये एक लंबी लड़ाई है परीक्षा माफियाओं के साथ जो एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट अभी मतलब टेक्नोलॉजी के समय में एक नई चुनौती बढ़ रहा है। विभिन्न प्रकार की सोशल मीडिया हैंडल से भ्रमात्मक तथ्यों को रखा जाता है, गुमराह करने की फिर कोशिश किया जाता है, फिर नीट की हम लोग एग्जामिनेशन तोड़ सकते हैं, इस प्रकार की व्यवस्था को खुली चुनौती दिया जा रहा है। ये सारे को ध्यान रखते सरकार ने तुरंत CBI को काम सौंपी है। CBI ने त्वरित कार्रवाई शुरू किया है। इस बार CBI तह तक जाएगी, कहाँ वो कमांड चेन पे ब्रीच हुई है। राधाकृष्णन कमेटी को पूरा पालन करने के उपरांत भी कहाँ वो ब्रीच हुई है, उस ब्रीच को मेरा पूरा विश्वास है CBI के ऊपर। और जो संबंधित एजेंसी उनके करे, सरकार की पूरी माइटी, सरकार की पूरा नेतृत्व, सभी विभाग उसमें से गंभीरता से इसको लेते हुए शीर्ष तो नेतृत्व उसके लेके खूब दायित्व लिया है, चिंता कर रहा है। हम
Welcome back. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has embarked on a 5-nation tour with a key stop in the United Arab Emirates, where he will hold talks with the UAE President. The high-profile Modi-MBZ meeting comes amid rising tensions in West Asia and concerns over the impact of the Iran-Israel-US conflict on global energy markets. Energy security, crude oil supplies, LNG contracts, maritime stability and bilateral trade are expected to dominate the agenda. The Prime Minister is also slated to visit other countries, including the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy. He will be on this visit for the next 5 days till the 20th of this month.
We are anticipating with great excitement the visit of Prime Minister Modi. He is a key figure of friendship, of long-standing partnership, and a true treasure, I would say, to the leadership and to the people of the UAE, and we're very much looking forward to having him come. Our President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, was in India in January of this year, as was our Crown Prince in February for the AI Summit. And since His Excellency Prime Minister Modi has taken office, they have been regularly, your leadership and my leadership have been regularly seeing each other a few times a year.
Now, from key talks with the UAE leadership on energy security and strategic ties to technology and green hydrogen partnerships in the Netherlands, the India-Nordic Summit in Norway and the defense and trade discussions in Italy, the visit is aimed at strengthening India's economic, energy and strategic interests amid growing global uncertainty.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation tour comes amid rising geopolitical uncertainty and fears over global energy disruptions. The most crucial stop of the visit is expected to be the United Arab Emirates. In Abu Dhabi, Modi will meet UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan to discuss energy cooperation, trade and strategic ties in the middle of a conflict. The visit gains added significance after the UAE's recent exit from OPEC and growing concerns over stability in Gulf energy supplies.
He will meet the President of the UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and exchange views on bilateral relations, in particular energy cooperation, as well as regional and international issues of mutual interest.
From the Gulf, Modi heads to the Netherlands, where talks will focus on semiconductors, defense cooperation, green hydrogen and water management. The visit underlines India's push to deepen economic and technology partnerships with Europe. The European leg will also include the India-Nordic Summit in Oslo, bringing together leaders from Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland and Iceland. The summit is expected to focus on clean energy, resilient supply chains and emerging technologies. Modi's visit to Norway is particularly significant as it marks the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to the country in over 4 decades.
It would provide an opportunity to shape and develop an ambitious agenda of cooperation in the areas of trade and investment, innovation, clean and green tech, blue economy, and cutting-edge advancements.
The final stop will be Italy, where discussions with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni are expected to focus on defense cooperation and the India-EU Free Trade Agreement. But beyond diplomacy, the larger objective of the tour is clear: securing India's energy and economic interests at a time of growing global instability. As oil markets remain volatile and geopolitical tensions deepen, the outcome of these engagements could shape India's economic outlook in the months ahead. Bureau Report, NDTV.
All right, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Abu Dhabi, is what we are hearing. He was escorted by UAE's F-16 jets while the plane entered the UAE airspace. He will now be accorded a guard of honor, as we can see. Let's just dip into the live visuals there on your screen. Prime Minister Modi in Abu Dhabi on a crucial visit to the UAE at a time of extraordinary geopolitical churn in West Asia and mounting concerns over global energy security. The visit is being watched closely, not just for its diplomatic significance, but for its direct implications on India's oil, gas and economic interests amid the ongoing regional crisis. I have Vishnu joining me live on the story. Vishnu, this is the first meeting also between the two leaders ever since the war broke out in the Middle East.
No, that's right. And I think this is a very important visit. It comes at a time when there is an oil shock which is impacting many parts of the world and is now being impacted in India as well. Remember, today we've seen a 3 rupee rise in the price of petrol and of diesel and a rise in LPG costs as well. A large percentage of India's oil and gas imports from the Middle East come from the United Arab Emirates, and therefore this visit is particularly key. In an exclusive interview to NDTV, the Deputy Foreign Minister of the United Arab Emirates a couple of days back spoke about the importance of the relationship with India. He spoke about an understanding in the United Arab Emirates of the importance of India continuing and maintaining our oil supplies, which are absolutely critical. At the same time, they assured us, they said that all of the millions of Indians who live in the United Arab Emirates, who call the UAE their home, will be protected in a situation when there is war. So this is an important relationship. It's a strategic relationship, but the present timing is absolutely critical. We will need to wait and see whether there is a significant announcement of some sort of a deal which ensures India's energy security at the end of this visit. I should also tell you that there was a very nice escort of F-16 aircraft on the side of the Prime Minister's IAF-1 aircraft as it entered UAE airspace. It's sort of it's symbolic, but obviously something that gives you an idea of how the United Arab Emirates looks upon this visit.
Right, and he is going to be there just for a couple of hours, Vishnu, is what we know. What kind of assurances would India be seeking at a time like this, Vishnu? Prime Minister Modi has left New Delhi on a day when the fuel price hike has been announced. What kind of conversations will the two leaders be having in terms and keeping in mind, in fact, the conflict that is happening in West Asia?
I think it's a difficult and a very complicated conversation, and one where India balances our relationship with Iran with our relationship with the United Arab Emirates. On the one hand, you've got the UAE, you've got the Iranian Foreign Minister, Mr. Arakchi, over here in Delhi. On the other hand, you've got the Prime Minister in the United Arab Emirates. It comes at a time when the United Arab Emirates, according to Iran, is reported to have struck targets in Iran in the course of this war. The relations between the UAE and Iran extremely frosty right now, Iran having accused the United Arab Emirates of harboring Americans on their bases and therefore being an aggressor in this particular war. So India, on the one hand, wants the situation with Iran to improve. We want the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz to go away. But at the same time, we want to ensure that our energy security through the United Arab Emirates is maintained. One of the long-term projects which India could be looking at is perhaps something from Fujairah, the port of Fujairah, which bypasses the Hormuz Strait directly onto India by way of undersea pipelines. But that is a multi-billion-dollar project which is likely to take several years. But there would be various measures, various options which would be looked at. And I think the United Arab Emirates is firmly on board with India in trying to meet our energy requirements.
Stay with me, Vishnu. I believe Abhishek Sen-Gupta is joining us live as well. Abhishek, take us through the itinerary. What are the key takeaways from this meeting that is going to happen between the two leaders? They share a very warm relationship. They last met in January this year. But there are going to be difficult conversations around the West Asia war as well that will feature as a core part of that conversation today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For the world, it may seem like just a pit stop, but of course, for India's perspective, it is more than a pit stop. The reason Prime Minister Modi is actually kick-starting his 5-country trip with the UAE is because it is not only very strategic at this point in time because of the situation, the energy needs and infrastructure, that is definitely going to feature. It's going to be a very brief meeting. He's actually going to travel, in fact, head out of the UAE for Amsterdam the same day later today. But those couple of hours that he's going to spend with His Highness Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of UAE, is going to be very, very important. And of course, at the top of that agenda will be energy discussions. Currently, of course, India is struggling to meet its daily energy requirements. And I was just listening to Vishnu, he's right. ADNOC boards just met a while ago, and you know, that discussion is also going to feature heavily the new pipeline that goes through Fujairah, which doesn't necessarily need the opening or the complete opening of the Strait of Hormuz.
All right, Abhishek and Vishnu, thanks for joining me live. We will be covering the Prime Minister's visit to the UAE here on NDTV 24/7. But before we go, we leave you with the visuals of UAE's F-16 jets escorting the Prime Minister's plane as it entered the UAE airspace a couple of minutes back.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा आटे और मसाला।
चाहे जैसे खाओ, 100% सूजी से बनी आर प्योर वर्मिसेली, स्वादिष्ट, सेहतमंद हर रोज।
एनटीए ने नीट यूजी का नई परीक्षा की तिथि घोषणा किया है। 21 जून को री एग्जामिनेशन की डेट घोषणा की है। मित्रों, मैं 2-3 विषय आपके सामने, आपके माध्यम से देशवासियों के सामने, स्पेसिफिक स्टूडेंट्स और उनके अभिभावकों के सामने रखना चाहता हूं। हमारी सर्वोपरि प्राथमिकता है छात्रों की भविष्य, उनकी परिश्रम के प्रति संवेदनशीलता सरकार की सदैव है। 3 मई को एग्जामिनेशन हुई। 7 मई तक एनटीए की ग्रीवेंस रिड्यूसल सिस्टम पे कहीं से आपत्ति आई। गेस्ट पेपर में ऐसे कुछ प्रश्न आए हैं जो इस बार की क्वेश्चन सेट्स में था। तुरंत ही हम लोगों की वहाँ चर्चा हुई। एनटीए ने और सरकार ने, एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट, हायर एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट ने तुरंत उसको प्रारंभिक थोड़ा इंक्वायरी किया, एजेंसियों को दे दिया, भारत सरकार की एजेंसियों को दे दिया। भारत सरकार एजेंसी संबंधित 2-3 राज्यों के साथ जुड़ा हुआ विषय था। प्रथम दृष्टया में राज्यों की एजेंसियों से संपर्क किया और 12 तारीख तक, यानी 8 को सुबह प्रक्रिया एक प्रकार से 7 रात को शुरू हुई, 8 को ही शुरू हुई। 8, 9, 10, 11 3-4 दिन में जब हमको स्पष्टता हुई, हम कंफर्म हुए हैं कि इस बार गेस्ट पेपर की आड़ पे क्वेश्चंस बाहर गया है। हम 12 तारीख को छात्रों के हितों में, हम नहीं चाहते थे कोई गलत कैंडिडेट एजुकेशन माफियाओं के षड्यंत्र से कोई भी सही छात्र की अधिकार वंचित हो जाए, इसीलिए हम बड़ी जिम्मेवारी के साथ हमने कहा था हम जीरो टॉलरेंस की अप्रोच में चलते हैं। हमने पिछले बार जो विसंगति आई उसमें जो हमने राधा कृष्णन कमेटी गठन हुई थी, पिछले 25 और 26 दोनों साल हमने राधा कृष्णन कमेटी को
Welcome back. This is Breaking Ground at 1 p.m. I'm Vedika. So the quick check on the headlines at this hour at a time when the Prime Minister has just landed in the UAE. But fuel prices have been hiked in metros. Petrol cost surge hits daily commuters. Daily travel expenses also set to rise. We get you the voices of the Aam Aadmi. Government sources to NDTV on fuel hike. Government sources say citizens shielded instead of passing on full global oil shock. Petrol under recovery at 26 rupees per litre. Diesel under recovery at nearly 82 rupees per litre. Opposition slams centre over fuel price hike. Asks why price rise only after polls are over. BJP hits out at opposition. Says world saw hike of 20 to 100%. India contained massive hike. It's the government's first response on NEET exam leak. Minister Pradhan says will fix existing loopholes in NTA. Exam to be fully computerized from next year. NEET examination to be held on the 21st of June. Prime Minister Modi reaches the UAE, meets with the President. UAE F-16 jets escort the Prime Minister's plane. UAE is the first stop of his 5-nation tour. Iran and Taiwan dominate the agenda in the final round of high-stakes talks in Beijing between Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. The US president wraps up his state visit a day after Beijing's sharp warning on Taiwan.
Presented by Canara Bank. Together we can.
Back to our top focus. Days after Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls to reduce petrol and diesel consumption and use public transport, the centre has hiked petrol and diesel prices by 3 rupees per litre, a development that was long anticipated. The petrol will now cost about 97.77 per litre in the national capital, 108.74 per litre in Kolkata, 106.68 in Mumbai and 103.67 per litre in Chennai. Diesel will also be sold at 90.67 per litre in Delhi, 95.13 per litre in Kolkata, 93.14 per litre in Mumbai and 95.25 per litre in Chennai. As for sources, India is facing a severe global oil shock but is still shielding citizens instead of passing on the full burden onto the consumer. Sources claim oil marketing companies and the government are together absorbing nearly 1,000 crore rupees in losses every day, while petrol under recovery stands at 26 rupees per litre and diesel under recovery is close to 82 rupees per litre.
The government's message amid the global oil crisis is becoming increasingly clear. It does not want consumers to bear the full burden of rising crude prices through steep fuel price hike, and that is quite reflected in today's move. And according to top government sources, oil marketing companies along with the centre are currently absorbing losses of nearly 1,000 crore every day to keep petrol and diesel prices stable despite the surge in global crude prices. Now, under recoveries are estimated around 26 per litre on petrol and nearly 82 per litre on diesel. Officials argue that the alternative would be far more painful. Since fuel demand in India remains largely price inelastic, consumer would need petrol and diesel even if price rises sharply. Internal estimates suggest that the fully passing on the global shock could require fuel price hike of as much as 200 to 300%, and that's huge. Now, sources says that government believe that any knee-jerk move would hurt the bottom of the pyramid the most. Instead, the focus is on reducing fuel consumption volume rather than sharply increasing the prices.
Delhi residents have woken up to the price rise of fuel today. We are showing you the visuals from Pragati Maidan petrol station. which is considered to be one of the busiest petrol stations in Delhi. We are showing you the visuals of the current petrol prices in the capital that have gone up by rupees 3.14 per litre and are now selling at rupees 97.77 per litre. Diesel has become costlier by rupees 3.11 per litre, taking the price to rupees 90.67 per litre. Now, after remaining unchanged for nearly 4 years, this price rise can be seen today that has sparked concern among daily commuters, cab drivers and daily workers who are saying rising fuel cost will directly affect their monthly expenses.
नहीं, अभी तो मैं जब आया तो अभी मैंने देखा कि शायद कुछ हो रहा है, फिर देखा कि अच्छा ये प्राइस बढ़ गया है, तो रात तक तो पता नहीं था, अभी पता लग रहा है कि अच्छा ये
प्रभाव पड़ेगा इस पे। हमें आने जाने के लिए भी बहुत दिक्कत हो जाएगा जो ड्यूटी कर रहे हैं।
Fuel price in Chennai is up by 3 rupees just like any other part of the country, and in Chennai the petrol price is now 103.67 a litre. In the case of the diesel it's 95.25, 3 rupees hike, and many were expecting this. They were hoping that the government would increase the price after the election results, since the West Asia war crisis has triggered a disruption in terms of movement of oil. 3 rupees per litre hike. How do you look at this?
Sir, we don't have a choice, but we need to be careful and sail with it, that's it.
Would you reduce using your car now, or would you?
Of course, we do a lot. In fact, our office also we're discussing, we do carpool.
All right, we're going to cut across live to Abu Dhabi, where I believe the Prime Minister is meeting with the UAE President. Like I said earlier, it's a very warm relationship they share. Let's listen in.
Brother, पिछले कुछ समय से आपसे फोन पर तो बात होती रहती थी, परंतु मैं स्वयं आपसे मिलने के लिए बहुत ही बेताब था, आतुर था। मैंने क्यों, लेकिन मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि मुझे जितना हो सके उतना जल्दी आपके पास आना चाहिए, आपको मिलना चाहिए। आज आपसे मिलकर के मुझे सचमुच बहुत खुशी हुई है। ब्रदर, जैसा मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा है, यूएई पर हुए हमलों की हम कठोर निंदा करते हैं। यूएई को जिस तरह निशाना बनाया गया है, ये किसी भी रूप में स्वीकार्य नहीं है। ब्रदर, इन कठिन परिस्थितियों में आपने जिस संयम, करेज और विजडम का परिचय दिखाया है, यह बहुत ही सराहनीय है। राष्ट्रीय एकता, सुरक्षा और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता को बनाए रखने आपके नेतृत्व में उठाए गए कदमों का हम अभिनंदन करते हैं। कठिन समय में यूएई में रहने वाले भारतीय समुदाय की चिंता करते और उनकी देखभाल की जाए। जिस प्रकार से आपने उनको अपने परिवार के सदस्यों पर संभाला है, मैं यूएई सरकार का, आपका, रॉयल फैमिली का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। ब्रदर, पश्चिम एशिया क्षेत्र में युद्ध की परिस्थिति का प्रभाव आज पूरे विश्व पर दिखाई दे रहा है। भारत ने हमेशा समस्याओं के समाधान के लिए डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी को प्राथमिकता दी है। हॉर्मुज़ को फ्री, ओपन और सेफ बनाए रखना, ये हमारी सबसे बड़ी प्राथमिकता है। इस विषय में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कानूनों का पालन आवश्यक है। ब्रदर, भारत हर परिस्थिति में यूएई के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर खड़ा है और आगे भी खड़ा रहेगा। जल्द से जल्द शांति और स्थिरता की बहाली के लिए भारत हर संभव सहयोग देने के लिए तैयार है। ब्रदर, हमारी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप को निरंतर नई ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचाने के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूं। जनवरी में आपकी भारत यात्रा के दौरान हमने आपसी सहयोग को क्वालिटेटिवली अपग्रेड करने पर सहमति जताई। इतने कम समय में भी हमने सभी विषयों में उल्लेखनीय प्रगति की। दोनों टीमों के बीच भी करीबी संपर्क रहा। आज जिस तरह की परिस्थिति है, इसमें भारत और यूएई की स्ट्रेटेजिक साझेदारी, इसका महत्व कई गुना बढ़ गया। हम आने वाले समय में हर क्षेत्र में साथ मिलकर के आगे बढ़ते रहेंगे। एक बार फिर आपके आत्मीयता भरे स्वागत और गहरी मित्रता के लिए मैं हृदय से आपका बहुत बहुत आभार।
All right, that's the Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking while he is with the UAE President. A quick recap of what the Prime Minister has said. He has strongly condemned the attacks on the UAE. He has also gone on to appreciate UAE's restraint. He talks about how India believes in dialogue and diplomacy and how the West Asia war has impacted the world. Abhishek Sengupta joins me live. Abhishek, very quickly a recap of all that the Prime Minister has said out there in terms of the conversations. We now know what's really on the agenda. It basically revolves around the West Asia conflict and the concerns over global oil.
Yeah, absolutely. And this comes at a time when fuel prices in India just saw almost 3% rise across the board. So definitely there is a bit of it is a critical situation as far as India's energy infrastructure is concerned, and which is why he's made UAE his first stop before he heads over to Europe, and no surprises there that that features heavily in the discussions. In fact, the UAE Minister of State for International Cooperation, Rima Al-Hashmi, yesterday told the media that Prime Minister Modi's visit to the UAE is mainly about the energy infrastructure. Just earlier this morning, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Corporation, the national oil company of the UAE here, they had an executive directors board meeting where they announced how UAE is looking to double their export targets through a west-east pipeline, which will go through Fujairah. So yes, the talks are all about how to negotiate the situation that we have on hand at this point in time because of the geopolitics that's going on.
And this visit is being watched closely, Abhishek, not just for its diplomatic significance, but also for its direct implications on India's oil, gas and economic interests amid that ongoing regional crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 10 years ago, the India-UAE relationship was very transactional. Now, that relationship is now, gone up several notches. It's no longer just transactional. If you just look at the trade, they're looking at $200 billion of trade between the two countries over the next few years. UAE, I mean, it's a small country of just about 10 million people. But if you look at the volume of trade it has done, UAE is globally the third largest trading partner for India after China and US. And that tells a lot what is on offer. So, of course, Prime Minister Modi is going to go to Sweden and Norway and talk about green technology and Nordic innovation partnerships. But all of that in the larger context only takes a backseat when it comes to the India-UAE bilateral. And a lot has happened since the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement was signed a few years. And, this is Prime Minister Modi's 7th or 8th visit over the last 10 years. The first time he came here in 2015 was 34 years after an Indian head of state visited the UAE. So that is what tells the whole picture.
All right, what we're seeing on our screen also are the MOUs that are being exchanged. The Guard of Honor was first up, and then the ceremonial reception Delegation-level talks have also ended. The MOU exchange taking place, after which there is going to be a tete-a-tete between the two leaders, where they will be discussing all that we've been bringing to you, all that Abhishek has been talking about in detail. This is, Abhishek, a brief visit by the Prime Minister of India to the UAE, just a couple of hours there. After the tete-a-tete, it's going to be followed by a lunch, after which he departs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very short stop, to use the F1 parlance. It's a pit stop, but a very strategic one at that. And this comes at a very interesting time. Earlier this month, on the 1st of May, UAE kind of shook the global oil market by announcing that it is going to exit the OPEC+. UAE is, of course, the third largest oil producer in that bloc after Saudi and Iran. They've been pushing about 3.5 million barrels per day. Now, there will be immediate questions in the short term whether UAE is going to pump more, whether India is going to benefit from that. India currently, is about consuming about 5.5 million barrels per day, and there 80% of that oil demand is met by the Gulf. And UAE is a key player in that. So the MOU is only to make sure that long-term petroleum infrastructure is met and preserved.
Yes, and a part of those MOUs will also be an agreement on supplies of LPG. While you have the Prime Minister's short trip to the UAE, which is just a couple of hours, in news just coming in, it is bringing big returns for the country. Let's just take you through some of those major agreements. I just mentioned one, but also the investments and decisions that have been announced today. An agreement on framework for the strategic defense partnership between India and the UAE. MOU on strategic petroleum reserves. Also an agreement on supplies of LPG, and MOU on setting up ship repair cluster at Vadanar, and also investment worth $5 billion announced in Indian infrastructure. And that's what we have for you in terms of the MOUs. Abhishek, coming back to you, like I said, the focus would be on the impact that the regional war is having on countries, and through those MOUs that have been announced that we've just taken our viewer through, it's important to note how LPG and petroleum reserves agreement play a huge role in the signing of MOUs today.
At this point in time, oil still is well. That's what we would love to hear at the end of this trip. India currently grappling with a stark shortage, and it's not just India. I mean, the way things work these days, no country is actually in isolation. We've heard reports from Philippines, from as far as in Cuba as well. So India is not really isolated. But yes, India's consumption just over 5 million barrels per day now. How do you negotiate that in the short and the medium term? Which is exactly why Prime Minister Modi is here. And it comes at a very interesting time. Like I said, UAE leaving the OPEC Plus came as a bit of a shocker. In fact, 24 hours before UAE announced, there was absolutely no inkling that this was going to happen. When UAE announced on the 1st of May that they're going to exit the OPEC. Now, will that immediately mean UAE pumping more oil? We'll again have to wait and watch. How does India benefit from that? Again, after the signing of these two MOUs, a lot of that clarity will come through in the immediate short-term future.
What you can see is that New Delhi is looking to secure stable long-term energy access amid disruptions caused by the West Asia conflict, Abhishek.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, I know we've been talking about energy and oil, but UAE is not just your energy partner. Agreed, it is one of the biggest suppliers of crude as well as LPG for India. But UAE, like I said, has now gone over and above that transactional partner for India. UAE is also a geopolitical, a strategic hub for India. In fact, India's global aspirations kick off from the UAE. If you look at two important blocks that India is part of with the UAE, the Quad, the West Quad that they talk about, which comprises Israel, India, US, and of course the UAE. UAE is very much a key partner when it comes to the Middle East and European economic corridor, the MEEC. So, you know, it's not just about oil. Maybe perhaps oil is just the start of the conversation, and you can only guess where the conversation, short yet brief one, will end today before Prime Minister Modi emplanes for his Netherlands trip next.
All right, Abhishek, do stay with me. I also want to bring in Shiv Arur. Shiv, we've seen the MOUs. We've just talked about the MOUs that have been signed. What this signifies and indicates is how India is preparing to ensure that they can insulate themselves as much as possible given the regional tensions in West Asia.
It's really, really important that you're seeing, Prime Minister Modi on this scheduled visit to UAE on the same day that fuel prices have been hiked. One cannot be disconnected from the other. The fact that a strategic MOU on petroleum reserves has been signed is of enormous importance. India counts the UAE, Vedika, as you well know, as a key strategic ally in the Gulf. One with whom the relationship has evolved by leaps and bounds over the last 11 to 12 years under Modi's prime ministership. The UAE has gone from being just another Gulf country to one that counts India as an important key ally in the region. That's the reason why they have very sensitive bilateral arrangements, including extradition of terrorists, law and order. Now strategic petroleum reserves is an MOU that has been signed. Some of the others include supplies of liquefied petroleum, gas, ship repair clusters at Vadinar, investments worth $5 billion. These are all very important. They may sound incremental in the larger scope of the relationship between Delhi and Abu Dhabi, but given that they come just a few weeks after the Iran war kind of tapered down, that conflict continues to spiral. India is facing its own oil shock crisis, where the Prime Minister has literally asked the nation to look towards self-reliance, cut back on unnecessary expenditure in order to create a greater insularity from outside oil shocks. UAE becomes a very, very key player in what India is hoping to achieve. So strategic petroleum reserves is still external. The Strait of Hormuz issue is still an external issue, but the fact that India and the UAE, and specifically the relationship between Prime Minister Modi and the UAE ruler becomes front and center in how India navigates whatever is going to come next. Remember that there is an overwhelming sense that the oil shock from West Asia that we are facing right now is only the tip of the iceberg. It's an appetizer to the larger oil shock that India is almost definitely going to face, along with every other country. And this relationship becomes key in how we, cushion the effects of what that shock is going to become and evolve in the days ahead. And that's the reason why these MOUs on liquefied petroleum gas as well as strategic petroleum reserves becomes very, very important.
And Shiv, important to note, this is the first in-person meeting between the two leaders that we have been seeing on the screen as well after the West Asia war broke out. They last met in January this year. But also, looking at those MOUs that have just been signed, what's clear is that the top conversation between the two leaders will focus on crude oil supply and stability.
That is correct. Stability, predictability, certainty of supplies is precisely what has, been evaporated as a result of the war in Iran, Vedika. Unpredictability as far as supplies are concerned. India pretty much just hanging on to single ships bringing in gas from Qatar or oil from the UAE is how we've actually navigated the last few weeks since February 28th, when the war actually began. For a country like India that is overwhelmingly dependent on imported oil for its energy security, this is a precarious situation, and that's the reason why India is currently on the threshold of what could be a larger crisis. India is better positioned to navigate it for various reasons, and one of those reasons is playing out right now on the screen in front of you. Apart from crude oil, apart from LNG, apart from the petroleum reserves that are being discussed between the two leaders, let's not also forget, Vedika, the strategic defense framework that is being updated and agreed upon by the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and the Emirati ruler. The fact is that the UAE and India have explored, national security relationships for a long time now. These have evolved by leaps and bounds, and in the context of the Iran war, it becomes very, very important. India and the UAE conduct, complex air defense exercises, air force exercises at the Al Dhafra air base, just on the outskirts of Dubai, not very far from where the Prime Minister actually landed earlier today. There are other forms of special forces engagements that are going to be taking place between the two sides as well. So this is a multi-dimensional engagement and relationship, and all of it sweetened by a very positive kind of rapport that the two leaders actually enjoy, which fuels the entire relationship. And let's not forget, Vedika, probably the most important thing of all, the number of Indians who live and work in the United Arab Emirates. That is the fuel for this entire relationship, and that's what makes it so important.
I was going to get to the defining feature also when it comes to India and UAE being the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and the UAE President, and the warmth they share. We've seen it over and over again, Shiv, and that just makes this visit, even though brief, even more significant.
100%. Prime Minister Modi has demonstrated that personal rapport with leaders, can be a game changer in India getting what it wants, especially at a time when the United Arab Emirates has been under attack during the Iran war. We've seen, bases in the UAE, petroleum terminals being hit, drones hitting buildings. The Prime Minister was very, very focused on conveying India's support to the UAE. That personal relationship between these two leaders has been a focus area for the Prime Minister. And remember, it's not just the UAE stands out as a kind of shining example of this foreign policy focus of the Modi government. But, whether it is the UAE, whether it is Yemen, whether it is Saudi Arabia, especially Qatar, Kuwait, all of these are also, work in progress relationships where very, very different things have actually been achieved, where India was otherwise seen as a kind of distant oasis from the Gulf. But this time, I think energizing India's diaspora and the huge workforce that India has in these countries, and especially the United Arab Emirates in and around the Ras Al Khaimah area, Sharjah, Dubai, etc., makes it very important for India to invest heavily in a relationship with this country. And that's what we're seeing really play out. And you're right, Vedika, the personal rapport between the two leaders, can make all the difference in the world. We've seen that happen with India and Russia. We've seen that happen with India and Trump, even though the last year is not a very good example of that. With the UAE, I think there has been a greater degree of stability and a lot of gains for both sides.
All right, a very quick recap also of the MOUs that have been signed. A framework for strategic defense partnership, number one. Number two is MOU on strategic petroleum reserves that Shiv was talking about. Agreement on supplies of LPG. You have an MOU on setting up ship repair cluster and investment worth $5 billion in Indian infrastructure. And Shiv, like you've been saying, a quick recap on the big takeaways being LPG and petroleum reserves topping Prime Minister Modi's agenda on this brief visit to the UAE, which is quite obvious through the MOUs that have been signed on a day when the government has announced that fuel price hike across the country.
Very true. And there's nothing more important right now than predictability in energy supply, Vedika. Like I said, and I'll repeat that, the fact that today's dominating headline this morning has been, that long anticipated fuel price hike comes on a day where just a few hours later, the Prime Minister is literally signing agreements that is going to cushion the effects of the, a potentially second fuel price hike a few weeks or months down the line. This is a serious situation as far as fuel prices is concerned, and the government is perhaps doing everything it possibly can to negate the need for another fuel price hike later this year. That's point number one. Energy security front and center. There are comparisons being made between how India has handled it versus other countries. We don't need to look at that really, because the fact is India needs to look after its own interests right now, rather than any comparisons with other countries. That's point number one. There is nothing nothing more important than the energy relationship between the two. The other point that I want to quickly mention, Vedika, is something that not everybody is talking about. Remember, the UAE has exited OPEC Plus. The UAE has forged a new relationship with Israel. Geopolitically speaking also, the India-UAE relationship becomes ever more important. You have a new kind of axis relationship that forms between Israel, the UAE, and India in this region.
Yes.
There has been talk about a sort of trade relationship that involves these three countries as well. There are very important geopolitical effects of what has happened in the Iran war as a result of the eroded trust and faith in the larger umbrella of security that the United States has provided to Gulf states, including the UAE. That relationship is not going to go away in a hurry. The Gulf is still a region that considers the UAE the net security provider there. But the fact that some of these things have been up for grabs, Iran has demonstrated the ability to severely compromise security in the Gulf, means that India's position, India's strength, India's defense relationship with these countries, especially the Emirates, becomes exponentially more important.
All right.
I'm not surprised that a strategic defense framework has also been signed.
Shiv, do stay with me. We want to get some breaking news to our viewer. You heard from Prime Minister Modi. He has said, we strongly condemn the attacks launched on the UAE. The manner in which the UAE has been targeted is not acceptable in any form. We welcome the steps taken by you to uphold the national unity, security and regional integrity, for the care provided to the Indian diaspora, like Shiv just pointed out, and residing in the UAE in these difficult times. The manner in which they were considered as members of one's own family. So you have Prime Minister Modi there thanking the UAE government and the royal family for keeping the Indian diaspora safe in the UAE when those attacks took place. Even very recently, you had those attacks taking place in the UAE. Now remember, UAE is India's third largest trade partner, also its seventh largest source of investment cumulatively over the last 25 years, with the UAE hosting a strong Indian community of over 4.5 million. That's what the Prime Minister was alluding to. That's what the Prime Minister was thanking the royal family and the UAE government for, that when those attacks took place, you ensured that over 4.5 million Indians of the Indian community were safe. And this visit will also be an opportunity to discuss their welfare. Prime Minister Modi meeting with the UAE president. There you can see that hug also between the two. Like Shiv and I were talking about the personal relationship, the warmth that these two leaders on your screen also share. You had the UAE president also receive the Prime Minister at the Abu Dhabi Presidential Airport in person, only going on further to symbolize the relationship that these two leaders share at a time when the West Asia crisis is only deepening, at a time when the Indian government has announced a hike in fuel prices, both for petrol as well as diesel. On the same day, you have the Prime Minister on a very brief visit to the UAE. Those discussions underway. The MOUs have been signed after a delegation-level meeting. Now there is a conversation happening between the Prime Minister as well as the UAE President, after which there will be a lunch, after which the Prime Minister will leave for Netherlands. Here's what the Prime Minister had said a short while back.
यूएई पर हुए हमलों की हम कठोर निंदा करते हैं। यूएई को जिस तरह निशाना बनाया गया है, ये किसी भी रूप में स्वीकार्य नहीं है। ब्रदर, इन कठिन परिस्थितियों में आपने जिस संयम, करेज और विजडम का परिचय दिखाया है, यह बहुत ही सराहनीय है। राष्ट्रीय एकता, सुरक्षा और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता को बनाए रखने